Hello everybody, welcome to the second session on vector analysis. I'm Dr. D. Sanjeev Kumar from Department of Physics, Government College, Rajahmundry, India. In the previous session, I have discussed about defining scalars and vectors and defining directions and magnitudes for vectors. In this session, I'm going to deal with addition of vectors, triangle of vector addition, subtraction of vectors, resolution of vectors into components, null vector and a few applications of it in physics, and parallelogram law of vector addition, projection of vectors. So coming to addition of vectors, to find the sum of two vectors, I need to join the vectors head to tail and connect the tail of the first vector with the head of the second vector. So here I am taking my first vector A and my second vector B. To define the angle between them, I need to join tail to tail or head to head, whereas to define the addition of vectors, to calculate the addition of vectors, I need to join the vectors head to tail. So I need to move the vector to join head to tail, and then by joining the tail of the first vector with the head of the second vector, I'll get the sum of these two vectors. This is A plus B. And if I want to calculate B plus A, I'm taking same set of vectors A, B now, but to calculate B plus A, I need to translate the vector A. So then A plus B, this is B plus A. B plus A is given by this. So if you see carefully, the magnitude and direction of A plus B and B plus A are equal. So order of addition does not matter while calculating vector addition, sum of two vectors. So now how to calculate the magnitude and direction of A plus B vector. So here I am taking a vector A and then another vector B, this separated by an angle theta. So to calculate the sum of these two vectors, I need to shift the second vector and join tail to head. So now C is the sum of these two vectors and phi is the angle made by the resultant vector. So now to calculate C and phi, I made a small geometric construction here and I have labeled all the corners. Like this. So now the vector A is given by the line segment, directed line segment PQ, and B is given by the directed line segment QR, and the sum of these two vectors A and B is given by the line segment PR. So now from the triangle PSR, this is a right angle triangle, I can apply Pythagoras theorem, and from that square of the diagonal is equal to sum of the squares of the sides. So if I apply that, I can obtain this equation PS square plus SR square, and PS is equal to PQ plus QS. So I can write PR square like this, and from the triangle QRS I can calculate sin theta to obtain SR and cosine theta to obtain QS, and I'm going to substitute these values of SR and QS in the above equation. So then I'll get the magnitude of the sum vector, sum of the two vectors like this, in terms of the magnitudes of individual vectors and angle between them. And the resultant direction of the vector can be obtained by calculating tan theta from the triangle PSR. So tan phi is given by opposite side by adjacent side, RS by PS. So I can get the angle made by the resultant vector also in terms of the magnitudes and direction of the individual vectors. Now coming to the addition of vectors, more than two vectors. So as we already know, the sum of the vectors does not get affected by the order of addition. So here I am going to add three vectors A, B and C, So to get the result, I may first add a and b to get a plus b, and then add c to get a plus b plus c. Another possibility is I may add b and c to get b plus c, and then add a to get a plus b plus c. There are even other possible ways also to adding these three vectors. I may add a and c first and then add b. I may add b and c first and then add a. Whatever may be the case, if the directions of a, b and c does not change, the resultant a plus b plus c direction and magnitude also does not change. So we can conclude that addition of vectors for the addition of vectors, order of addition does not matter. Now coming to subtraction of vectors. To subtract two vectors, we need to join the vectors head and tail as usual in the case of addition. But here we have to flip the second vector by 180 degrees. So that is equivalent to multiplying the vector by -1. So this we have already seen in the first session, that multiplying a vector by -1 is equivalent to turning the vector by 180 degrees or flipping the vector. And then finally we have to connect the tail of the first vector with the head of the second vector. So here I am taking vector 1 and my vector 2. So I am translating to join head to tail, and then I have to flip the second vector by 180 degrees. Then I have to join tail of first vector with the head of the second vector. So another simple method to calculate the difference of vectors is by joining the two vectors head to head from second vector to first vector. So if we see carefully, these two are also same. Magnitude and direction are same. So these are the two possible ways of calculating the difference of two vectors. So now a few observations. So the magnitude of sum of two vectors will be always less than or equal to sum of individual magnitudes. So the equality is valid when theta is 0. I mean, when both the vectors are in the same direction, then sum of these two vectors will have same magnitude as the sum of individual magnitudes. And when theta is 180 degrees, the addition of two vectors is actually give us difference of the two vectors. Now adding a null vector to any vector give us the same vector back, and adding any vector to null vector also give us the same vector back, and subtracting a vector from itself give us a null vector. Another way of obtaining null vector is multiplying any vector with the number 0, or multiplying any vector with scalar 0 gives us a null vector. So this null vector has wide range of applications in relativistic mechanics. In the Minkowski space, where we plot space vectors, spatial vectors, xyz coordinates with time as a function of time. So that Minkowski space is a 4-dimensional space. There we will be plotting xyz coordinates of a particle as vectors with respect to time. So since we cannot imagine a 4-dimensional space, I'm studying a basic case of a 2-dimensional space plotted as a function of time. So then we get a 3-dimensional plot. So to understand this light cone concept, I'm taking a light source, and I want to study how it spreads in space. So I'm switching on the light source. So the light waves will be spreading in the space. So the first circle represents the distance traveled by light in 1 second, let's say, and second circle represents the distance traveled by light in 2 seconds, and third circle represents the distance traveled by light in 3 seconds. So light here, you can see the light travels equal distances in all directions as a function of time. So if we plot this spatial information as a function of time, to plot that I need to take this two-dimensional space in xy directions and add a third direction. Now the time axis will come in z direction. So all these circles will be shifted now along time axis now. So on z direction, vertical direction, now I have 1 second, 2 second, 3 second scales. So then these displacements will be represented by these circles. So like that I'll get a cone, and I can get some plot like this for the two-dimensional motion of light. So if I take my time t equal to 0 as the origin, then the past events are given by the lower cone, and future events of the light, how the light propagates in future, can be given by the upper cone. And if I take only one dimension, one spatial dimension, I'll have light cone like this, just like triangles. So further details of this light cone and space-time plots in Minkowski space and concept of null vector can be understood if we further study this plot. So this can be well understood only when we define the resolution of vectors. So I'm going to define the resolution of vectors. So here I'm taking two vectors. I'm taking a vector r, making an angle theta with the x-axis. So the x component is given by rx is equal to r cosine theta, and y component is given by ry is equal to r sin theta. These are obtained by calculating sin theta and cosine theta from this triangle. So cosine theta is given by r by rx and sin theta is given by r by ry. So from that, rx is equal to r cosine theta and ry is equal to r sin theta. So if we see carefully, the sum of these two vectors rx and ry, vector sum of these two vectors rx and ry will give us a resultant vector r. So here rx is joined head to tail with ry, and r gives us that. So to verify that, I am again calculating the magnitude of the rx plus ry sum vector and direction of that. So since cos 90 is equal to 0, I will be left with r here, and theta, angle made by the resultant vector r, is also equal to theta. So I can resolve any vector into these two components. If it is in 3 dimensions, I will have 3 components, rx, ry and rz. So now rotational transformation for axis. So if I rotate the coordinate axis, how the coordinates of a given vector change can be studied here. So here I am taking a vector r, making an angle alpha with the x-axis. So the x component is given by x is equal to r cos alpha, and y component is given by r sin alpha. So now I am taking a new coordinate system which is making an angle theta with the old coordinate system. So now the components of the vector r in the new coordinate system are given by x prime and y prime. So since the angle made by the vector r with the new coordinate system is now alpha minus theta, so x prime is given by r cos alpha minus theta and y prime is given by r sin alpha minus theta. And if we substitute the values of x and y, I can represent this x prime and y prime as a matrix. This matrix is called rotational transformation matrix or rotation matrix for anti-clockwise rotation of the axis. So if I rotate the axis in clockwise direction, this matrix will take a transpose, and I'll get the rotation matrix for clockwise motion in 2 dimensions like this. And rotation matrix for vectors will be actually opposite to that of coordinate axis. So rotating a vector in anti-clockwise direction by an angle theta is equivalent to rotating the coordinate axis by an angle theta in clockwise direction. So anti-clockwise rotation of vector is equivalent to clockwise rotation of axis. So I'll get the same matrix as clockwise motion of axis for anti-clockwise rotation of vector, and I'll get the same matrix as anti-clockwise rotation of axis for clockwise rotation of vector. And for anti-clockwise motion of vector, the negative sign for sin theta comes in the upper portion, and for clockwise motion of vector, clockwise rotation of vector, the negative sign for sin theta come in the lower portion in the matrix. So now coming to this 4 vector notation in Minkowski space. So here I am representing a one-dimensional motion of light ray along positive x direction and negative x direction, and the plot, light cone plot, is now along the y-axis. Instead of time I am taking ct, so that x and y coordinates have same units of this displacement or distance. So now, since light travels a distance is equal to ct, x is equal to ct in a time t, so this line makes an angle 45 degrees with the x-axis, and that line is called world line of light. So any vector in Minkowski space is represented by world line. So for example, I am taking the case of a planet revolving around a star. So this rotatory motion in space should be plotted as a function of time along z direction. So that can be represented by a spiral motion. Now the circular motion is now transformed into a spiral motion because we need to plot as a function of time along z direction. So this is the world line for a planet. So all material particles, since all material particles travel with velocities less than c, all those particles will be fall within this light cone in the orange zone, because light travels to this distance in time t, whereas other particles cannot travel faster than light. All other material particles travel with velocity less than c, so they will fall within this light cone like this. So all the world lines for other materials will be within the light cone. Right. So now coming to the case of then how to study this world line for material particles. So this can be studied by a Lorentz transformation. A simplest way is to choose an axis suitably, and coming to the other case, when the particle velocity is more than velocity of light, these are the hypothetical particles which we cannot observe. These hypothetical particles will travel with velocity more than light velocity. They are called tachyons. We cannot observe them because we are made of particles which are traveling with velocities less than light velocity. So still scientists are searching for these tachyons and developing instruments to study them. Hope we may observe them. So now, how to study these world line for material particles is a matter of interest now. So to study them, we can take a Lorentz transformation that brings these coordinates or vectors into the direction of our vector. So any vector can be studied. So now here my coordinate is in the direction of the vector. So with that transformation, with that rotatory transformation or Lorentz transformation, now I only need an information about time. With the proper choice of Lorentz transformation, now if I specify the time, I can predict the location of the particle, just like in this solar system. If we know the time, we can predict the location of Earth. So in December it will be little nearer to Sun, and in the month of June it will go very far from Sun. So in the northern hemisphere in December we will have winter, and southern hemisphere will have summer in the month of December. So all these predictions are can be calculated by proper choice of the Lorentz transformation and a time information. So any material particle world line can be studied by this information, whereas for the case of light, light travels equal distances in all directions, so we don't need any direction information also for light. All we need is only the information about time. So if we specify the time, we can predict the final location light have traveled, final distance light have traveled from the origin. And that's why these light-like particles, so all material particles will be called as time-like particles, because a Lorentz transformation will reduce the vector into a time-like vector, and all tachyons can be considered as space-like particles because they can be transformed into a space vector, whereas all light-like particles are the particles which are traveling with light velocity, doesn't need any vector specification, and they can be considered as null vectors in Minkowski space. So all light-like vectors are all the particles that are traveling with light velocity are considered as null vectors in Minkowski space. Now coming to the parallelogram law of vectors. So this parallelogram law gives us the same result as triangle law of vector addition. So instead of translating the vector, we are drawing a parallel line to B vector and parallel line to A vector also as well. So here the one advantage of constructing parallelogram is one diagonal of parallelogram gives us sum of the vectors, and second diagonal gives us the difference of the vectors, And another most important advantage of parallelogram law over triangle law is we can calculate the dot product of the two vectors just by calculating a plus b and a minus b, like this. So the difference of magnitudes of diagonals of the parallelogram is 4 times the dot product of the two vectors. So this condition is called polarization identity in mathematics. Further details about that can be seen in this Wikipedia link. And coming to projection of vectors, this can be well understood once we define the dot product of vectors. Hence, I am reserving it for the third session. So these are the books I have followed for this session: Vector Analysis by Gibbs, Vector Analysis by Coffin, Vector Analysis by Spiegel. And coming to the space-time plots and concepts were well explained in Pittsburgh University website. And coming to relativistic mechanics, space-time light cone concepts were well described in R.D. Searle, and publisher is the Benjamin International Company. Thank you very much.